So we are continuing lesson 2.3 on the focus of a parabola. Okay. What I need you guys to do, you need to be on page 70, looking at the core concept at the bottom of that page. Okay. And you also need your sheet out that I gave you. That core concept corresponds with the second row on that sheet. On the same side we used yesterday. Oh, you should have watched the video. Okay. So, the only difference is that today we are working with parabolas with a vertex that is not at the origin. Okay. Yesterday was fairly easy. We worked with parabolas with a vertex at the origin. Today they will not be at the origin. So as you look at those two, the first row compared to the second row of information, look at where it says equation on both of them. What is the only difference from what we're going to do today compared to what we did yesterday? Regan? They have h and k in there, right? If you remember back when we were graphing parabolas, what does h and k stand for? The vertex. H is the x value of your vertex, k is the y value of your vertex. All right? So we're just going to jump in and go ahead and take a look at some examples. They give me a vertex at -2, 4, and then they give me a focus point at +2. Okay, and regardless of what we sketch here for the parabola, completely irrelevant, really, because we are going to get the equation of our parabola based on our focus point. Okay? If the parabola were tighter, that focus point would have to be in a different place. Okay? So the only option for this parabola with a focus point here is the equation we're going to come up with. You get what I'm saying? If the parabola were to get tighter or open up more, that focus point would have to move. Okay? So with the focus point there, there's only one option for an equation of this parabola. What variable do we need to know to be able to write that equation? It's the same one we needed to know yesterday. P. We got to know P. Okay? Now before we even get started with this, is this going to be an x equals or a y equals equation? X equals y. Because it's opening sideways, right? Okay? So I know that it's going to be x equals. What is the value of P in this case? The distance from the vertex to the focus point. What is P? 4. P is 4. Okay. If this happened to open the other way, it would have been -4. But since it is opening to the right, it is +4. Now, since the vertex is not at the origin, there is one other thing we need to know that we just mentioned a second ago. And that is where the vertex is at. Okay, you have to be able to find that. Well, where's the vertex? We have enough information now to write the equation. Okay? So, looking on our sheets if you need to, you already told me it's going to be x equals, and then it is 1 over 4 times p, which in this case is 4, and then times look at your now read that again. It doesn't say 4. What's it say? It says x minus h. So I have x minus, what is my h value? -2. So a minus a -2 would be the same as plus 2. Thank you. Yes, that should be a y there. My fault. I was just going with it. X is over here. Y is going to be over here. You're right. And then, so yeah, that is backwards, huh? So it would be y minus 4. It's still minus. Everybody see where I'm looking? I'm looking at the second row, far right. So it's y minus k in this case, which is a little different than what we're used to. But that's because we're sideways now. Squared. And then, right, so it'll be plus a -2, right? Okay, go ahead, Peyton. It is k from the vertex.
Did we not apply the 4? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 4 times 4 is 16. You're right. Yep, and that's it. Okay. So, again, make sure, and that caught us up a little bit there, make sure you're looking at the right part on that paper. Okay. You are always using h and k from your vertex, because that's what h and k is. H and k does not go with your focus. Your focus is just a coordinate point x comma y. Your vertex is always at h comma k.
Wait. What did you say the was?
Your vertex is just a coordinate point. It's nothing. You won't ever plug your focus in to your equation.
Okay.
What you need to write the equation, 1, you need to know how far the vertex is from the focus. That's P,
Okay.
the distance from the vertex to the focus. And you need to know where the origin's at. Or excuse me, where the vertex is at. If the vertex is at the origin, you don't have to do all this minus and plus stuff. Okay, you just use what we did yesterday. If the vertex is not at the origin, you need to make sure you use the right information, and you got to do minus, in this case, since it was x equals, it's minus k plus h. If it was y equals, it would have been minus h plus k. Just keep that sheet handy, and all you got to do is plug things in.
And like, generally it's like right positive, left negative?
If it's opening to the right, it's positive. If it's opening to the left, it's negative. Is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just like up is positive and down is negative.
Gotcha.
Still a coordinate plane. If you go left, you're negative. Okay. All right. So I want to look at one more example. And this example you do not have in your textbook. So as I read through this, I just want you to quickly jot down what you believe to be important information. Okay. This example says an archway in front of a school is in the shape of a parabola. So we got a parabola, right? Okay. The top of the arch is the vertex at 0, 0. The school seal is at the focus, which is 2.5 feet below the vertex. And the arch is 18 feet wide at the ground. Write an equation and determine, so write an equation and determine how tall the arch is. Okay? Well, just think about it. An arch, obviously, it's going to look like this, right? parabola. They didn't even have to tell us. That's an archway. Okay? The vertex is at 0, 0. That was nice of them. That just made it a lot easier in itself, right? Okay. What else did they give us that was important? So the focus is 2.5 below the vertex. So the focus is at 0, comma, negative 2.5 because it's below it, right? Okay. What else? So these two, the ends are 18 feet apart. So what that tells me is this is 0 in the middle. This has to be 9, comma, something. I don't know how far down there it is, right? But this one's going to be negative 9, comma, y. Whatever it is. Like I said, we'll have to determine that later because that y value will be our overall height of our archway. Because that's how far away from the top it would be. Okay? So I have this set up. First thing, they say write the equation. Well, what do you need to know to find the equation? You need to know P. What's P? Negative 2.5. Can everybody agree with that?
Wait, so P will always be the y of your focus point?
No. If it's at the origin and it's opening up or down, yes.
Okay.
But there's a lot of different factors, so I'm not going to say yes to that because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's opening left or right, that's not true. If the vertex is not at the origin, it's not true. Okay? The P is the distance from the vertex to the focus. That's what P is. Now, since this is at the origin, do I care what H and K are? No. You guys understand why? Because it's 0 anyways. If I plugged in x minus 0 squared plus 0, it'd just go away anyways, right? And you just end up with x squared. Okay, if you plugged all of your stuff into that second row every single time, it would work. Okay? Because h and k would just be 0 and they'd end up disappearing anyways. Okay, so just understand that the first row there that we have on our sheet is the same exact thing as the second row. They just already plugged the zeros in for you. Okay? So P is negative 2.5. Vertex is at the origin. So I just need to plug in to y equals 1 over 4 times negative 2.5, because that's P x squared. What is 4 times negative 2.5? Negative 10. So I have y equals negative 1/10 x squared. So there's the equation of our parabola. Okay. Now I know that from here or here up to the x-axis, which would be straight out from here, that would tell me how high my archway is, right? Okay. So if I plugged in an x value of 9, I should be able to figure this out. So I plug in 9. 9 squared is 81. Negative 1 times 81. Negative 81 over 10. Since this is a word problem, you're probably okay with a decimal value. So what would negative 81 divided by 10 be? Hey, why is it positive 8.1 feet? Right, you got to understand what you're talking about here, right? You can't have a negative height. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, just because you're measuring down does not mean it's a negative 8.1 feet. That would be like me saying I'm negative 6'2" because I measured from my head to my toes. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so make sure you understand what you're talking about. It will always be positive. Okay. The only other thing I want to make sure we understand here, I want to copy those down so I have them on the smartboard here. If I have y equals negative 12 over 5x squared, okay, and they ask you for the value of p, or you're trying to find maybe where the focus is at, which to find the focus you would need the value of p, what is usually in this position? 1 over 4p, right? So I should be able to take negative 12 over 5, set it equal to 1 over 4p, and solve for p, right? Okay, we did this yesterday with those of you who were here. How did we do that? It is a proportion, right? So you can just cross multiply. Negative 12 times 4 is negative 48p. 5 times 1 is 5. So p is negative 5 over 48. Okay, that's... I changed the problem. I had negative 12 over 1, but I changed it to negative 12 over 5 after we did the problem. Okay. Hey, does that make sense to everybody, that part? That's how you would figure out what p is so you could do your focus. The other thing... Oh, yeah, I forgot what the other thing was that I had jotted down over there. The other thing, if they tell you that p equals 2/3, okay, and let's say we're just plugging into y equals 1 over 4p x squared. Okay, bless you. This confused a lot of people. So the plugging in part was easy for them. 1 over 4 times 2/3, right? That part's easy. Is everybody with me? Okay. But what confused them is then they got 1 over 8 over 3. They're right. I mean, yeah, that's how you multiply that. Because that would be 4 over 1. No, don't mess with the decimal. Okay? This is the same thing as 1 over 1 over 8 over 3. How do you divide a fraction by a fraction? Multiply by the reciprocal. What is 1 times 3? What is 1 times 8? Okay. Now, in this case, what we're doing, that top number is always going to be a 1, right? Okay, that's part of our equation. So instead of going through all that work, if you have 1 over a fraction, just flip your fraction. This is why it works, right? This is why it works. And if the number was not a 1, you would have to go through the work. Okay? But since it's just a 1, all you need to do is flip it. No, it would just be 3/8. Because this, I brought that whole thing down. You with me? So your equation would be y equals 3/8 x squared. Okay, that's just algebra stuff that we haven't worked on for a while. To this? Yeah. Okay. You have the rest of the class to work on your assignment.